Welcome to Daily Speak English channel, English podcast for easy English conversation.
Hey, welcome back to Daily Speak English, the podcast where real people have real conversations in real English. I'm Maya.
And I'm Daniel. And before we say anything else, we just want to take a second to appreciate you. Like, genuinely, you showed up today. You pressed play. That already says something about you.
It really does. And hey, we have something important to tell you right at the start. If you watch this episode all the way to the end, your English listening skills, your vocabulary, your understanding of natural conversation, all of it will genuinely improve. Not in some vague maybe kind of way, actually improve. Because by the end of today, you will have absorbed real sentences, real expressions, real rhythm of spoken English, the kind of English that you actually hear in daily life.
And we are not just saying that to keep you here. We mean it. So stay with us, keep listening, and you will feel the difference by the time we are done.
Also, before we get into today's topic, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for learning with us, for spending part of your day in this little space, and for trusting us with your English journey. Every time you come back, this whole thing feels more alive. Also, before we get into today's topic, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for learning with us, for spending part of your day in this little space, and for trusting us with your English journey. Every time you come back, this whole thing feels more alive.
And we also want to remind you of something that maybe nobody tells you enough. Listening is not a small thing. It is a real, powerful skill. Every single time you listen to natural English, even on days when it feels like nothing is clicking, your brain is still absorbing the rhythm of the language, the way sentences sound, the way words connect, the way ideas flow. So please do not underestimate what you are doing right now. It is working. Maybe quietly, but it is absolutely working.
And if you have noticed even a tiny change in your English recently, maybe you understood something you did not understand before, or a sentence came out a little more naturally, drop it in the comments, because your progress might be exactly the encouragement someone else needs today.
Also, tell us where you are listening from. We love knowing which corners of the world are here with us. It is honestly one of our favorite things.
Okay, so Daniel, why do you look like you are about to confess something? Okay, so Daniel, why do you look like you are about to confess something?
Oh no, that voice. That is the voice of someone who did something embarrassing.
Last night, I looked at the clock at 10:30 and said, with great seriousness, "Tonight, I am sleeping early." Very mature, very responsible.
Okay, strong start.
At 12:47 in the morning, I was wide awake, watching a 40-minute video called How to Build a Wooden Cabin in a Finnish Forest.
Daniel, why? Why were you there?
I genuinely do not know. I do not live in Finland. I have never built anything in my life. I once failed to assemble a shelf from a furniture store. And yet there I was, deeply invested in log placement.
This is the most Daniel thing I have ever heard.
I cannot explain it. My brain just decided, tonight we learn about cabins.
And this, everyone, is exactly why today's topic is so important. We are talking about healthy habits, the kind that can actually change your life. Not in that aggressive, motivational poster way, not in that wake up at 5 a.m. and drink green water kind of way, but in the real, human, sometimes messy, sometimes funny way that habits actually work in actual life. And just so you know, this is a B2 level episode, which means intermediate English learners, you are in exactly the right place. And please, do not stress if you miss a word here and there. You do not need perfect comprehension, Just stay in the conversation, listen for meaning, and let the English settle in naturally.
Later in the episode, we will slow things down with our word tour, where we walk through some really useful vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs from today's conversation. So you will be building your English while we talk about building better habits. That is what we call efficient.
Okay, before we get into it, we want to ask you something. What is one healthy habit you keep promising yourself but keep breaking up with?
That is such a dramatic way to put it, but it is accurate. Mine is sleep, obviously.
Mine is telling myself I will just check one thing on my phone. One thing, just one.
Yes. The most dishonest sentence in modern human history.
Truly. Okay, let's actually get into it now. Can I start with something that might be a little uncomfortable?
Is it one of those truths that sounds brilliant in the morning and deeply annoying at night?
Yes, exactly that kind.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Most people already know what a healthy habit looks like. That is the uncomfortable truth. People know sleep matters. People know movement matters. People know stress matters. Nobody hears vegetables are good for you and gasps and says, this information changes everything.
Right. The problem has never been information.
Never. The hard part is not knowing. The hard part is living. Because real life is strange and unpredictable and exhausting. You are tired, your phone is glowing, your mood has decided today is not the day. And suddenly, the healthy plan you wrote for yourself at 8 in the morning feels like it was created by a completely different person.
Morning me is a very ambitious person.
Morning me has hope and a good attitude.
Night me has snacks and zero apologies.
And this is exactly why the first big point matters so much. Healthy habits are not just actions. Very often, they are identity choices.
Say more about that.
A habit gets stronger when it stops feeling like a random task you added to a list and starts feeling like a reflection of who you are. There is a big difference between saying, I am trying to be healthier this week, and saying, I am someone who takes care of my body. The first one feels temporary. The second one feels personal.
Yes. The second one has weight to it, like it belongs to you.
Exactly. And this is where the word intentional becomes so important. If something is intentional, you are doing it on purpose with real awareness behind it. You are not just reacting to the day or letting your environment make your choices for you.
And even just that shift, just deciding to be intentional, already feels healthier before the habit even becomes consistent.
Because a healthy life is not built through dramatic transformation. It is built through small, intentional choices that repeat quietly over time. So maybe the better question to ask yourself is not, what habit should I copy from someone online? But what do I want my daily choices to actually say about me?
That is genuinely a better question. But even when people are clear on who they want to be, there is still another problem standing in the way.
The environment.
Yes. And this is something people do not talk about enough. Your environment is often stronger than your willpower. Full stop.
It is so true. People ask themselves, why do I keep eating biscuits? While the biscuits are sitting in a clear glass jar on the counter like confident little villains just watching you.
Or why do I keep picking up my phone at night? While the phone is literally charging on the pillow next to their head, like a very toxic little companion.
And this matters so much because people are too quick to blame themselves. They say, I have no discipline. I have no willpower. I am the problem. When sometimes their entire environment is quietly working against them. Your room matters. Your desk matters. Your kitchen matters. Your notifications matter. What you see first when you wake up matters. Trying to build a healthy habit inside an environment that encourages the opposite?
My environment had different plans entirely. And this is where the word detrimental fits perfectly. If something is detrimental, it is harmful. It quietly makes things worse for you, often in ways that feel small in the moment.
And the most detrimental things are rarely dramatic. They're just always there. The constant noise, the constant temptation, the constant easy distraction waiting 2 inches from your hand.
So instead of asking yourself, why am I so weak? Maybe a kinder and smarter question is, what around me keeps making the unhealthy choice easier?
Because sometimes the problem is not your character at all. Sometimes it is just your setup.
And once you start seeing that, another truth becomes very clear. A lot of unhealthy habits are not really about pleasure.
They are about comfort.
Yes, so many of the habits people struggle with are emotional coping tools. People say, I am lazy, when the real story is, I am overwhelmed, or I am lonely, or I am mentally exhausted, and I am trying to feel better quickly.
Stress eating, doom scrolling, staying up too late, that third cup of coffee you absolutely do not need. A lot of these habits are emotional before they are physical. They offer temporary relief, even when tomorrow has to deal with the consequences.
I had a period like that. I was overworking, sleeping badly, answering messages at strange hours, running on coffee and adrenaline, and calling it productivity.
Ah, yes, the productivity costume. Very convincing from the outside.
Very convincing. But really, I was just burning the candle at both ends every single day. And if you burn the candle at both ends, you are doing too much, using too much energy, without giving yourself enough rest to actually recover.
It sounds impressive from the outside, though. Like, oh, she must be so dedicated.
Meanwhile, your body is quietly filing a formal complaint, and nobody is responding to it.
Exactly. And that is why the more useful question is not only how do I stop this habit, but what is this habit actually doing for me emotionally?
And this is where the phrase cut back on becomes so useful and so realistic. If you cut back on something, you reduce it. Not necessarily to zero, not in some extreme all or nothing way, just to a healthier, more manageable amount.
Cut back on late night scrolling. Cut back on constant noise. Cut back on stress snacking. Cut back on always being available to everyone at every moment.
And what I love about that phrase is it sounds like an adjustment, not a punishment, not a restriction, just a thoughtful adult reduction.
Which matters. Because a habit only works long term if it fits inside your actual life. Not your fantasy life, your real one.
Not the version of you who wakes up glowing, has 2 free hours every morning, and somehow enjoys arranging fruit in a bowl.
A mythical creature. Does not exist in the wild.
I tried one of those perfect morning routines once. Wake up early, stretch, journal, meditate, make a beautiful, nourishing breakfast. It looked extraordinary on paper.
Oh no.
By day 3, I was behind schedule, emotionally irritated, and genuinely angry at my oats, like personally offended by them.
Angry at oats is somehow the most relatable adult experience I have heard in weeks.
It is specific but universal, and that is when I realized the routine was not sustainable. And if something is sustainable, it means you can actually continue doing it over time. If it's your real energy, your real schedule, your real life as it actually is, not as you wish it was.
That word changed something for me too. I stopped asking what looks impressive and started asking what can I actually keep doing?
Because a routine you quit after 5 days is less useful than a small, simple one you keep doing for 5 months.
Yes, a 10-minute walk you actually take is better than a 1 hour gym session you keep postponing until conditions are perfect. Conditions are never perfect. The perfect week is not coming. It is not.
And this is also where moderation becomes such an important idea. Moderation means balance. Not too much, not too little, just enough to actually support you. Which sounds obvious when you say it like that.
And when something finally fits your real life, something really beautiful starts happening. You begin to trust yourself again.
Yes, small habits build self-trust over time. And people do not talk about this enough because everyone focuses on results, but habits are also about the relationship you are quietly building with yourself.
Every time you keep one small promise to yourself, something inside you settles a little. Something says, oh, maybe I can rely on me.
I had a tiny habit once that meant more to me than I expected. After dinner, just a 10-minute walk. That was the whole thing.
Just 10 minutes?
Just 10. But I actually stuck to it. And if you stick to something, you keep doing it consistently. You stay with it even when it is inconvenient. And that felt genuinely powerful. Not because the habit was impressive, because I kept my word to myself.
That builds real confidence. Because when you keep breaking small promises to yourself, even tiny ones, your own inner voice starts to feel less serious. Like, why would I trust what you say anymore?
And then people think they need a bigger plan, when often what they actually need is a smaller promise they can actually keep.
I used to fall apart dramatically when I missed a few days of something. Like, I failed, it is over, I am clearly not someone who can do this.
I missed 2 workouts. My entire identity is in ruins.
Exactly that energy. But learning to get back on track changed everything for me. And if you get back on track, you return to what was helping you after falling off course, without making it a whole emotional event.
Because healthy people are not people who never slip. They are people who know how to return.
That is such an important difference. The skill is not perfection. The skill is return. Return without shame, return without drama, return without turning one bad week into a permanent story about who you are.
Because missing a few workouts does not mean you are now deeply committed to the sofa as a lifestyle.
Those sofas are very convincing, though.
Extremely, especially on a cold day with nowhere to be.
Okay, and this brings us to what I think is actually the deepest point in this whole conversation.
What did you end up doing?
Nothing impressive. I tidied my room a little, made something simple and warm to eat, took a long shower, put my phone in another room, and slept properly for the first time in weeks.
That sounds genuinely lovely, though.
It was. And the important part is I did not do it because I hated myself or felt guilty. I did it because I was tired and I needed care.
That is such a significant shift. That changes the whole energy of it.
Completely. Because when healthy habits come from self-respect rather than self-criticism, they feel steadier, less harsh, less like a battle, and more like something you are doing for someone you actually care about, which is yourself.
And that is also where being resilient matters. If you are resilient, you can recover, adapt, and keep going after difficulty. But resilience is not about being hard or rigid. It is about being flexible enough to bend, recover, and return. More like a tree than a statue.
Yes. The statue looks very strong. One serious crack and it is over. A tree moves with the storm. It bends. And then it is still there the next morning.
Healthy habits should make you more tree-like, more able to recover, more able to return, more able to care for yourself when life gets genuinely hard, and not just when everything is going well.
Because anyone can follow a beautiful routine during a perfect week. The real question is whether your habits can still hold you when the week is messy, when you were tired and stressed and disappointed, and maybe starting again from the beginning.
And maybe that is the real reason healthy habits can change your life. Not because they make you look perfect from the outside, but because over time, they quietly teach you how to live with yourself more kindly, more intentionally, more sustainably, with more moderation, with fewer detrimental patterns, and with enough self-trust to stick to what helps, cut back on what harms, and get back on track when life pulls you sideways.
That was genuinely smooth.
Thank you. I had a good moment.
You had several.
But really, if there was one thing we hope you take from today, it is this. Health is not a punishment plan. It is a care plan. It is not about becoming a perfect person. It is about becoming someone who knows how to look after their own life a little more honestly, one small choice at a time.
And that is a much kinder place to begin.
A much kinder place.
All right, before we go into the word tour, take a second and ask yourself this. What is one small habit that would make your life feel a little more cared for this week? Not more impressive, not more extreme, just more cared for.
Hold that thought. Let's go into today's word tour.
Our calm little word tour. Let's slow things right down and really sit with some of the most useful words and phrases from today's conversation.
These words came up naturally while we were talking about habits, stress, self-trust, and the way small choices shape your life. And they are all words you can use in real life, not just in this context.
Let's start with intentional. If something is intentional, you do it on purpose. There is awareness and choice behind it. You are not just reacting or drifting. For example, she became more intentional about how she started her mornings. Or healthy habits feel stronger when the choices behind them are intentional, not random. Say it with us. Intentional.
Intentional. Next, a really important one. Detrimental. If something is detrimental, it is harmful. It has a negative effect on you, even if that effect is gradual or quiet. For example, too much screen time before bed can be detrimental to your sleep quality. Or a stressful environment can be detrimental to your health over time. Say it. Detrimental.
Detrimental. Now our idiom from today. Burn the candle at both ends. If you burn the candle at both ends, you are doing too much and using too much energy without enough rest. You are pushing yourself from every direction. For example, he was burning the candle at both ends for months, and eventually his body just gave out. Or, you cannot stay well if you keep burning the candle at both ends. Say it. Burn the candle at both ends.
Burn the candle at both ends. Next, a very practical phrasal verb. Cut back on. If you cut back on something, you reduce it to a healthier, more manageable amount. Not necessarily to zero, just less. For example, she decided to cut back on sugar. Or he cut back on late night scrolling and started sleeping much better. Say it. Cut back on. Cut back on. Next word.